Hello and welcome to another beautiful episode of Healthy Living, reaching you from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Olamide Al-Hassan. Now, in recent years, Africa, particularly Nigeria, has experienced recurrent and devastating flooding events, posing significant challenges to communities, infrastructure, and the environment. Now, news reports highlight the increasing frequency and severity of floods across the continent, underscoring the urgent need for comprehensive disaster preparedness and mitigation strategies. In Nigeria alone, flooding has emerged as a recurring annual phenomenon, impacting millions of lives and causing widespread destruction. According to recent news stories, the 2023 rainy season brought unprecedented floods, affecting several states across the country. The resulting devastation has been profound, with reports of displaced families, damaged homes, submerged farmlands, and disrupted livelihoods. Amidst all these challenges, the Nigerian government, alongside humanitarian organizations and local communities, is grappling with the complex task of responding to the immediate needs of affected populations, while also addressing the longer-term issues of flood resilience and disaster risk reduction. Now, today on Healthy Living, we will discuss the impact of flooding on environment and public health with Environmental Health Officer Egene Tijani Eneojo. Welcome to the studio once again, Sanitarian Tijani Eneojo. Thanks for joining us again today.
Yeah, thank you for all that you do in order to promote environmental health. So the job is not easy, considering the time factors and every other thing that you are doing. So, but the reward of every good work is more work.
More work, absolutely, yes. I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today to discuss the impact of flooding on the environment and public health. So let's look at some of the impact. What are the impacts that we know, the immediate impact that flooding can cause on our environment? Because we know every year they came to tell us there'll be flooding, you have to be very careful. In fact, government's already warning for this year that in time when raining starts, it might not be favorable for some states. In fact, majority of the states in the federal capital in Nigeria. So what are some of the impacts that we may begin to notice when it comes to flooding on our environment? Let's begin with the environment.
Yeah, when you talk about the impact of flooding on environment, it is a very elaborate topic to be discussed. And then looking at what is happening in our country, every year they give us the Nigeria meteorological agencies give signs that warning sign that flood will come. This thing is, it is expected of us to also get prepared for the flood at all time. So looking at flood itself, what is even flood? Flood is a gradual increase in the water or river when there's rising river or there's a heavy downpour that can take over a dry land. So that is what flood is all about. Then looking at the impact of flood has caused a lot of things to us as individual. It has taken so many lives. Yes, looking at the ratio of what happened in 2012, how the people has been devastated, how people have lost their life, how the whole house is submerged, the mental health, the behavioral changes and distress that come as a result of this flood. And this thing is something that we always know. And it is as a result of our own maybe conviction that this water may not come to here. We begin to build houses anywhere we see free land. So the impact of flood cannot be overemphasized, and that is why we come out today to discuss so that we can get prepared early. Because as the NIMES has started giving a warning sign, it is expected of those living around the riverine area to start preparing themselves and have the plan of evacuation. Not necessarily when the flood has come, because when you are prepared, you will be able to take proactive measures, even though the flood did not rise to that occasion of the previous year. So the impact of flood has come to stay, and it is our own side to take measures to protect them. So you're looking at the disease it brings to the body, to the public, the disease that it brings about to the environment, the biodiversity, the killings or the death of aquatic lives in water. And when this heavy rainfall wash away the surface of the soil, into the body of water. This surface of soil might be a zoom in of the dead body into the body of water, the packing or washing away the debris, washing away feces, washing away or even taking away all the accumulated where there's a dustbin. You understand? Where people used to drop a dustbin before. You can wash all of it into the body of water, and then the aquatic life in the body of water is affected due to the increase in chemical oxygen demand in that water, leading to all these fish animals into what? Extinctions, because the presence of that chemicals and other debris will make them uncomfortable, and some can die as a result of that practice. So the impact of flooding to our environment cannot be overemphasized, and we must look at it critically from the early signs and early warning that the government is giving now, so we can prepare ourselves ahead of time. So,
all right, in as much as we want to discuss the impact, I feel like it's also important to understand why there's flooding, because before now it wasn't this bad. So why is it that it has become, rainy season has become a feared and a dreaded season? I remember there was a time when I was resident in Warri, Delta State, I took an accommodation somewhere. I took it during the dry season, so I didn't know what it was like during the rainy season. In as much as it was a duplex, I was in the top part of the building. But I think I traveled and came back home one day and discovered that my room had been flooded. Like I was upstairs. All of my clothes, my wardrobe, like water got in. And I was asking myself, how did this even happen? It was not like that. There have been residents in that accommodation before I came, and they were like, oh, I don't know, these days the way the rain is falling, it's inexplicable. It looks like everywhere is going to be flooded in years to come. You know, why do we have rain falling in excess that some of our river banks begin to overflow? It begins to affect the entire ecosystem. Why is it now like that?
Now, looking at the reason why we have this problem most recently, you know, you can't take the impact of climate change from this perspective. Reason being that when there's excess rainfall, what led to the excess rainfall can also be traced to the impact of climate change on our environment. So when this increase in rises of water, you know, during the dry season, the whole rain that fell will also go back into the atmosphere through evaporation and precipitation. So when these things go back, the number or the amount of water that go back into the atmosphere will determine the number of rain that will come down the next year. You understand? So when there is this high level of precipitation and evaporation into the atmosphere, then we should also expect a heavy rainfall. And when there is a heavy rainfall, where does it go to? You can't stop the flow of water. And when there's heavy rainfall, it's gradually increasing the ocean level, the water level. And once the water overflow 8 banks, it finds its way into where there's space. And that is why we see that, okay, you are here, before you know it, you start seeing water. Because one, the rain is so heavy, and the underground water has already come to a point that it cannot, the ground cannot contain it. So it must find its way out. That's why in some places you may even sit there here and be seeing water coming gradually. Before you know where you sit, it's already flooded. We also have this same experience, I think in 2012, when our farmland where we harvest yam. So when we came to the farm, there is no water in the farm. But before, do you believe me that before we left the farm, the water began to come to our distance. So the next day we cannot come there unless we come with a boat. So that is the impact of climate change. All these things as a result of what? Climate change. We play deaf ear to climate actions. And that is why whatever you give into the environment is what the environment is giving you in return. How many people have planted tree, even though we have continuously advertising or promoting the planting of trees? Planting of trees also helped in reducing this level of flooding.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Because deforestation is one of the factors that increase the flooding. So when you replace deforestation with reforestation or reforestation, you see that it will help to mitigate or serve as a wedge for the flooding not to come. So you can see the impact and how you are so mentally disturbed when you notice that, okay, the down floor is flooded. Even if you stay in the upstairs, are you going to stay there for life?
At all.
Then what is the capacity of the building to withstand the strength of the rain? And you know that when flood is coming like that, it washes away the ground part of the erection, leading to collapsing of the building. You can see the stress we pass through as a result of this. So it is encouraged that we should take climate actions very, very seriously. Individual and collectively can do better, so that we don't have to be complaining about flooding all the time.
Yeah. You know what, I'm just surprised because currently we have an extreme weather situation, especially when it comes to drought and everywhere being so dry, the floor so hard, the dust, the sun, it's like in excess. Now you'll be wondering why, if we have all of this in excess, it means that the lands are very dry, which means that no matter the kind of rain that should come, you should be able to absorb them, you know, very well without us having flooding situation. But that looks like, from the warning so far, and from looking at 2023, in fact, I'm not even going to use 2023 as our baseline now, because the kind of sun we've experienced even in 2024 is nothing compared to what we experienced. It cannot, 2023 can never be compared to 2024. So which means that maybe we should have more dry lands, and maybe by the time the rain falls, you should be able to absorb it, you know, and us not having a case of flooding. But with NIMET's warning here and there, it's begging for question that should we really be scared of what's going to come up on us when it comes to this rain that is falling in 2024? Where do we stand? The
thing is that we have to be very cautious, and that is why the early warning help for measures that you need to take place. Yes, water is not something that one should play with, even though you are an expert on the waterway. Definitely, they say what you know is what may likely kill you. Yes. So once you see that, okay, flood, they have given a warning sign. What effort are you making? What effort are you taking? You understand? Because many people do not even have the fear that, okay, even if this flood comes, I am not going to live here.
True.
Because of what? Overconfidence. So this thing has taken a lot of lives, you know. And they are giving you a warning. Do this, do this. These are some of the things that you should do. We have to start fearing, because water is not a friend of anybody. So do what the government is telling you to do. Leave that place. Prepare. Have a plan that, okay, even if this rain comes today, where will you go to? And it is not even the time to equip those within the riverine area, to equip the room with everything. You can take what you don't need now to a safer place, so that when flood comes, you'll not be running helter-skelter to pack those things at that point in time, because you may not have the time.
But then, let's look at it from this angle, because it is what people have that they tend to treasure. Now, this is the only land you could afford. You built your own house, or this is the house you could afford to rent, and then you have this as your accommodation, and then suddenly they're telling you that this is your environment where you could afford to pay the only money you can afford to, you know, have a shelter over your head. They're telling you that it's going to be flooded, so you need to move out of there. It means that they're rendering you homeless. What solutions are there? Is it just to move away? What things can we do to mitigate those flooding, to stop it to the point that I can still live in my house under my roof and I will not be flooded?
Now, the thing is that, you know, many people play a deaf ear to warning.
Okay.
There are regulations on land, right? And that is why you see that for us to have a better environment and free flood environment, it is the responsibility of everybody, individual, community, government officials, and thereabout, to make sure that these things is corrected. On you as an individual, what effort have you made? In the terms of you building, do you have the approval to build on that place? Is the place you want to build a waterway? Right? Is it a green land? What approval do you have to build where you want to build now? We have to take it into serious. Many local community can come and sell a place for you today. They say this place, road pass here, this place, water pass here. At the end of the day, they will sell everything without considering your own effects or what may likely come for you. Check, for example, somewhere in Abuja here, I think in 2023, and the whole estate was flooded.
Yes, an estate in Lugbe.
Yes, because when you go into the master plan, you notice that that place is a non-residential area. But because just give it to me, everybody, you know, that is why one of the things that is also affecting the government at all sectors, because even if somebody tell you that, okay, give it to me, you should be able to advise this person that this place is a no-go area. And if you must do this, there are certain things you need to put in place, like creating a bridge, construction of proper drainage systems, and then a building of a catchment pit for it to be able to withstand, or a barrier for it to be able to stop any form of flowing of water from anywhere. But people play a deaf ear, and that is why for us to get it better, all hands must be on desk. We must be able to put individual perspective into correction. Community has to come in. Everybody has a role to play. Even as an environmental health officer, why we are here is public enlightenment.
Sure.
Yeah, for the public to get knowledge of what is to come. What has happened? What have you learned from what has happened? You know, he who plan and fail can guide. You have failed before.
At least experience.
At least it's an experience. Then what effort are you making this year? Now that you are hearing that flood is coming, what impact, what effort have you made to be able to withstand even if the flood come another time? So the solution lies in our hands. Collectively, we must fight it, because even the flood, we cannot totally take away the risk of flood. What we do is to mitigate or to reduce it to the barest minimum. And all hands must be on desk for us to get or to achieve that.
Now, because we're still looking at, first of all, the first aspect of it, which is the impact of flooding on our environment, let's look at it from the angle of the kind of water quality that people get during rainy season. What impact does this have? Does flooding have on the water quality that people get during seasons when there are rainfalls? Now,
in terms of the quality of water as at the point of flooding, you know, when there's flood, remember, flood wash away the surface soil. You wash away all the things that you have accumulating in one place. Flood exhume the dead body into the water.
The more it makes me have
feeling. Now, when these things happen, even physical observation of this water, you know that it is not safe to be consumed. Right? Yeah. And as a result of that, it carries a lot of debris that can affect you, carry a lot of germs, microorganisms, viruses that can affect you, giving you different kinds of water-related diseases. You talk of typhoid fever as a result of drinking or making use of this water, either to even bath, it affects your skins. You understand? Okay. Imagine you using this water to cook or giving this water to a baby. Cholera outbreak can come as a result of this exercise. Then the standard of water cannot be maintained at that point in time. Water can be contaminated and therefore giving you different kinds of disease. Hepatitis A is also inclusive as part of water-related diseases. Gastroenteritis, because once you take this water, it begins to affect your gastro canal. You're feeling uncomfortable. Before you know it, you start going for toilet. And where is the toilet? The water has taken over the toilet. Therefore, you have no option than to do it even in the body of water. So even as you are sitting here, you are doing it into the body of water because you have no any option. You cannot go to toilet at that point in time because everywhere is flooded. So what option do you have? And when nature calls, you must answer. So these things affect the body of water. And once one takes this water, it gives you different kinds of health concerns. The skin problem, the increase in the vectors like mosquito growth, as a result of the water, the stagnation of water most precisely, therefore giving you different kinds of diseases. Malaria is there, dengue fever is there. All these things carry virus. So at that point, the water is not conducive to be used.
You know, as you were describing that when there's flooding, it washes away the surface of the earth. I'm beginning to look at it like, what impact, what is the consequence of this kind of flooding on agriculture? Now,
you know, the consequences is overwhelmed. Yes, because let's take our memory back to 2012, and 10 years later, 2022. What the level of flood that has happened washes away all the food products on our agricultural land. Do you know what that means? The next year is hunger. Because once the food, and this thing always happens as at the point that the food has matured. Yes. And even if the food be able to survive it, then the quality of that crops is not there. You understand? So once it washes away our agricultural land, then what happened? That place become a dry land. Somebody farmed a very mighty rice farming. And at that point in time, the rice has already started developing seed. And water was on this rice for a period of 3 days. What happened? It's dry off. The whole, in fact, they cannot even pick a pin from the farmland.
That's a huge loss.
Imagine the mental health of this same person. Imagine if this young man collected the loan from the bank with the hope that, yes, I have a product in the farm. And if I sell this, I will be able to settle the loan and also cater for my personal needs. Imagine the trauma this young man is passing through. Imagine the family, no food. And the little children do not even know whether you have food or not. They must eat.
Absolutely.
Yes. So food insecurity is there because we cannot secure any food any longer because the flood has washing away the surface of the land.
So what about our wildlife? Some of the animals that are supposed to be in the forest, in the bush, how do they survive?
Now, that is why you see that when this thing happens, it doesn't affect one sectors. That's why we are looking at it from the environmental perspective and the public health. You see it, when flood comes, it's not all animals that know how to swim. And even if you have, you know how to swim, for how long? Yes.
Because whoever is swimming must have a destination for where they will go and rest. You can't keep swimming.
Yes. So if the wild animal that their environment is bush, they enjoy it in the bush. And now this rain has washed away where they are. Automatically they don't have destination. And then they begin to die down or even go into extinction. That's why there are animals you see in the past that are no longer here, or they are no longer in Nigeria.
They've gone into extinction.
They've gone into extinction because if the flood were able to carry them to where? Imagine flowing from a river through Benue, pass through Lokoja, pass through Ida, Ibaji, them, all those areas to Delta State. To where? So you see that, and if this animal cannot even feed on the water, it doesn't come down, it will get to a point that it will get tired and die. So the wild animals are so much affected, just the way it affects the human life.
All right, so I know we looked at, because of this, based on environment now, we looked at the ecosystem, we looked at the soil erosion, we looked at our wildlife, and we looked at our water quality. So what can we do to mitigate when it comes to some of these aspects? What can we do to have better water quality during flooding seasons? What can we do to have to preserve our crops in the farms when it comes to our soil erosion? What can we do to preserve our wildlife animals? What can we do precisely? And to stop our rivers from overflowing their banks?
Yeah, you know, just like I said before, all hands must be on deck for it to be successful. And we can only reduce the risk.
Okay.
Reduce and minimize the risk. No man can stop the flow of water. Yes, and that is why in some cases we look at government perspective. But
we can redirect it.
Yes, okay. Can be redirected. Like as the case may be, the Conference River, that is the River Niger and River Benue, can be dredged. Government can help to dig it down so that it can be able to accommodate more water. Once that is done, it reduces the rate of flow of water into a dry land. And once that is corrected, the aquatic life will be safe. Our farm products will be safe. And then people can be able to also make use of the public water. That is some of the things that the government can do. Then an individual, are you listening to the warning sign?
What are these warning signs?
Yeah, the warning sign, just like the NIMES has issued a circular, is for you to get prepared that, okay, this water is going to come. And once it's come, that time, it might even be that there is no road for you to pass again because the water has taken over the road, as in the case of Lokoja. In some of the recent
I was going to even mention Lokoja because it's always so bad that travelers can't even travel through Lokoja during rainy seasons.
Yes, that is because the river has not been dredged to accommodate the water. And since you cannot stop the flow of it, when there's free land, they go. So, and if you go into the topography of that Lokoja, you see that looking at this upstairs is hill, right? Rock everywhere for that side. And looking at the downside is this river. So for you to achieve results in that place is to dredge the river and then build a catchment. Yes, a tall one that can be able to withstand the season. So if you do that, it will help to reduce the rate of flowing of water into an open space, into a dry land. So individuals should listen to the call of the government to be able to reduce the risk at which the flooding is coming with. Then how prepared are you? What is your plan? Even in our normal joke, I think plan B is very, very necessary. You have plan A, yes, that is why you build the house. What is your exit plan in case of any emergencies? That is why it is advised that whenever you want to build a house, you should have an exit route.
Of course.
Now, individual, have you created a drainage within your system? Because it is sometimes not even the general flow that affects you. It might be this rain that is even falling in your house that get access into your room and destroyed some of your valuables. What effort have you made? Have you created a drainage? There's what you call internal drainage system that can be also channeled into the public drain system. Have you created it? Do you just build your house because of you have the land? Or as you are building, you create the internal drainage system that can be able to take water away from your premises when there's heavy rainfall.
Very important.
Or do you create a band or have a barriers or a strong gate that doesn't have an opening to allow water to come into your premises? Some of those things are the things that we can do as individual. Then community can do a lot as well by having a volunteers. You understand?
Absolutely.
The volunteers can help in the terms of this. Then public announcement and awareness creation, advocacy can also help. Then joining hands with other influential people to help in mitigating flood actions can as well help. Then as an environmental health officer, we are the government officials. that go about to tell people, now NIMES have given instructions, do this, do that, listen to us, create a barrier, take away your valuables into a place that may likely be safe. Have one-on-one with them, educate them on the need to do these things. And once you do that, it will help you. Give them reasons, because at that point, once there is flood, in fact, majority of people behave like mad people.
True. In fact, it's a lot, because it's really there.
Yes.
It's really,
They behave like mad people because you are so devastated. You don't even know what to do at that point in time. But if you stick to the early warning signs, you will be able to manage your mental health at that point in time.
Thank you very much, Sanitarian Tijani Egene Eneojo. You're really enlightening us and opening our eyes to a lot of things. Thank you so much. But let's go on a quick break. All right, viewers, let's go on a quick break. We'll be discussing impact of flooding, I beg your pardon, on public health and, of course, our environment. We've just looked at the environment, and when we return from this break, we'll be talking about the impact of flooding on public health. Stay with us. So we're still discussing the impact of flooding on environment and public health, and we've actually discussed deeply about the environment, the impact of flooding on environment, and now we're moving on to the impact of flooding on public health. Thank you so much for enlightening us again.
Thank you for having me. All
right, so let's talk about some of the impacts that it has on public health, especially when it comes to some of the little waterborne diseases that it can, spring up during flooding season and then tend to affect our health.
Now, looking at the impact it has on public health, when flood arises, just like we're discussing before, everybody will be so scared. That alone can take life. Yes, flood has taken so many lives. Many people have died as a result of flood. Many people have drowned as a result of the actions of flooding. Looking at the health issues, the water-related diseases, just as we rightly mentioned, the cholera, the hepatitis, the gastroenteritis, the diarrhea, the dysenteries, the skin problems that arises as a result of the flood actions. They're moving away to the vectors. At that point in time, there will be increase in mosquitoes, which can in return give you malaria fever. There will be different kinds of diseases. The skin problems, as you drink the water, you must drink the water if you don't have option. The dryness you have, the pneumonia as a result of cold, the bronchitis, different kinds of disease that may arise as a result of the flood actions. So public health is so paramount that we look at the health of the general public, because our slogan says the health of a single man is the health of all.
Absolutely.
So what effort have you made to protect your health, to protect the public health? The mental health that we're discussing, the behavioral changes, the breakdown in law and order. You understand?
Absolutely.
Some of those things are factors that affect our life. You cannot expect power supply when there's flood. Because water reacts with the light, or light reacts with the water.
And it puts you even at risk.
And puts you even at risk, leading to loss of life and property. The road that damages as a result of the impact of flood, the public health that it affected, people that's supposed to be rushed to hospital may not be able to go because of what? Flood actions. When the road is break and you do not have access to a canal, what do? You remain where you are. And that alone can take one's life. So public health is important. And it is important to also educate people what flood can bring. The overcrowding that comes as a result of evacuation. You go there, you see them, and in that case, how many toilets can you build within that short time? People are displaced. Their mental health is affected. Coming together in this as big as here is, may take up to 200 or 300 people. How do you think they can cope? overcrowding, leading to different kinds of airborne infections, airborne diseases, lung problems, and other related issues. So the public health is overwhelmed if we do not take measures to curtail the flood actions or to minimize the flood actions.
Now, you listed a couple of waterborne diseases that, you know, we can actually contract during flooding seasons. But how can we prevent them?
Now, the only way we can prevent them is first to control the flood actions. Yes. And then, if you even store water at that point in time, how will you be able to have access to water? Because lack of access to clean water brings about you taking the one that is available. And as a result of that, affect your life. And that is why you see it, the immediate impact of flooding is disease outbreak. Here and there, you see people falling here and there because they do not have access to clean water. They do not have access to clean food. What you see is what you eat. Then how do you do? You cannot take a dry fasting. For how many days? How long are you going to stay?
Months, maybe.
In some cases, months. In some cases, 2 weeks, 3 days, 1 week, as the case may be. So we can only minimize it if we are able to take proper actions to mitigate or reduce the flood actions. That is the only best way. Because when there's no water, you take the one you see. When you have no food, you take the one you see. And as a result of that, damages your system, bringing you down to different kinds of diseases.
You know, another thing that I realized is that during rainy season, flooding and all of that, there tends to be much more weeds growing around the environment. And then there are also issues of vector-borne diseases, like we have mosquitoes disturbing, you know, from there giving malaria and all of that. So how do we even manage this one? So how do we protect ourselves from all of the things that eventually comes back to us when it comes to the post-flooding era?
Now, you know, when there's overgrown weeds in an environment, it's a nuisance. Now, going by the definition of nuisance, nuisance is any act, omission, places, or things that is or may be dangerous to the health of man or animal. So, overgrowing weeds that brings about the increase in vectors is what? It's a nuisance, and you ought to clear it. Clearing of the environment is very, very necessary. Yes, because when you clear the environment, you are preventing snake from having access to the environment. You are preventing scorpions. You are preventing mosquitoes, the growth of the increase in rat infestation within your premises, because that is where they hide. If you have food, it's a contributory factor. So we must take cognizance into cleaning of our environment. Green environment is important. Therefore, if you want to maintain that green environment, you must also do some certain things by taking pest control into actions. You can fumigate or spray the environment.
Okay.
Yes, there's chemical that can help in keeping the vermin or vectors away from your premises.
But these chemicals, can we use them during the flooding season, or it will have to be after the flooding season?
It will have to be after, because whatever you do, the flood wash it away.
I thought so too.
So immediately after the flood, you have to do general cleanup, general sanitation of your premises, then do thorough disinfection, because even the water that passes through you, you do not know the content of the water. Just like we explained before, it packs different kinds of things. Even the soakaway can collapse in these actions. And then everything will be emptied into the body of water. And this thing is coming, carrying. Have you seen where rain fall and you see different kinds of waste on the body of water? That is how it is. So imagine when a soakaway that has been used for over how many years is emptied into the body of water. and then you come and after the flood, you do not take cleaning serious, you do not disinfect or fumigate your premises to ensure that those germs, those bacteria are die off, then you expect to come and stay there healthy. No. First is to clean the environment. Second is to take disinfective measures by cleaning the premises, and as well fumigate for other vectors that may settle in your premises.
You know, there was also something you mentioned about mental health impact. You know, I'm looking at it from the angle of you've been asked to leave your home because of flooding, or you probably did not even plan it. You probably just get to your house and everywhere is flooded and you have to leave your home, you are displaced that instant. I'm looking at some of the impacts that this has on the mental health of individuals, communities at large. What are the impact that it has? Now,
the impacts of mental health cannot be overemphasized. That is why you see that at that point in time, you see behavioral change of people, the stress they pass through, the anxieties and fear they are exposed to. This does not limit to one person. You can see that in the faces of, after, okay, let's do a random selection of 10 people from this community. All of them are passing through the same stress. And that is how it affects them. Some go into this depression because they do not even know where to go, where to hide as a result of this. And that is why government need to help to provide a mini resettlement area for that within that period. Yes, and then it is not even when the flood that has happened that we should look for where to keep people. That time, as in 2012, I remember vividly where people were evacuated from different houses into primary schools. This primary school, there's no mosquito net. There is no proper even windows, right? They are exposed to different hazards. Even criminalities can also affect their life as a result of that. Some valuables has been lost, even if you left your home because of the warning to another place. How safe is your properties? How safe is your valuables? So some of these things bring mental stress to people. And then these people need to be talked to, they need to be addressed, they need to be educated, and they need to be guided, so that they will not have this mental problem forever. Otherwise, some people can go into mental illnesses as a result of these actions. Dementia, they cannot think forward.
I'm beginning to look at it, but then what can public health initiatives do, you know, to help somehow take away these mental health challenges after a flooding disaster?
Now, after a flooding disaster, these people need counseling. The public health need, like environmental health officer and in collaboration with other stakeholders, need to meet these people to calm them down, to talk to them. This is not the end of your life. You are alive to build this. You can still do more. As long as there's life, there's hope. So calm them down, talk to them, continue to check on them. There are so many people are dying silently. It is only when you approach a person that you know that this man is mentally unstable with one issue or the other. After the flood, you evacuate people from their house. Now, the flood is over. You allow them to go back into that same environment. What mental stability do you think they will have at that point in time? Losing all they have. Some may even come to their house and see that their building has collapsed. What do you do? Everybody's hands must be on desk. Influential people that can help, can help. The government can build a mini resettlement for them. That is why we have IDPs. It is not only when there's flood that we should look at what are the content of where these people are living, because they are human too, and their mental health is what important, so that we prevent future occurrences and what we call criminalities in our society. Because if this person has a valuable and he cannot have access to it as a result of flood, what do you think this person will do? Begin to have a different mindset. Let me see, if I cannot see my own, that means someone else take it. Then let me go and pick someone else's own. And as a result of that, you see different kinds of criminalities in our societies.
Talking about displacement now, another thing that struck me is the fact that there was a time I visited an internally displaced persons camp, and they were so crowded that some of them were even falling ill. no adequate health support for them. What do we do? How do we, how do we take care of these displaced persons due to flooding and give them equitable access to health support?
Now, one of the things that is very key in this is to build a large resettlement center that can accommodate a number of people.
Also in preparation for flooding?
In preparation for flooding.
Okay.
Yes. You have it standby. People should be there to monitor it. And in that building, in that structures, there should be health facilities. There should be healthcare facilities where these people can have access to free healthcare system. They are not going to live there forever. Immediately after the flood, they go back to their various destinations.
Yes.
Then you follow them down to see how the government can help, how NGOs can come into the aid of these displaced people. If you come to an IDPs, those that are even displaced as a result of insurgencies, you see that they are not having a good life. Some are not even having food to eat. Yes, they don't have food to eat. And then there is no proper facilities. Toilet facility is not there. There is no proper water facilities. So if they do not have access to these things, don't you know that they are dying down gradually? They see their children that cannot even compete with other people's
Especially
children.
because they were very okay themselves. It's
Yes.
just environmental factor that has led them into this.
Yes, they were very okay. And these things is a factors that must be looked into by the government, and all hands must be on desk. And then, as an environmental health officer, you have to educate the people. Talk to them. These things is not a death sentence. It has happened, the flood has come, and then it will go. After a while, you'll be relocated to your house. These people should be educated. They should be encouraged that this is not the end of life.
Okay, but there's something that I'm wondering. If we know that some environments are prone to flooding during rainy seasons, why wouldn't we just take them out completely from human accommodation, especially when we're doing our normal, usual planning, urban planning, rural planning, and all of that? So why won't we just take them out completely and say, okay, this place is not habitable for humans? What about that as an option?
Yeah, the option is okay, but people do not want to take responsibilities. Before you get to that place, just like I said before, is it approved? Are you informed? Is a waterway? Do you buy the land from who? The local authority or government authority? Because if you want to get any facilities in any states or any local government, there should be an approved building plan. There is a place that you do not have to build mosque or church or any recreational activities. But you see people building in that place. You go around now, you see mosques attached to building. You see churches attached to building, or even in a community. Do you know the impact of those things on our health? That is why once we go out, we educate people. Take for instance, the church. You have a vigil all through the night. What is the mental health of people living around that place? They cannot sleep.
Noise pollution.
Noise pollution. The same thing happened to mosques. Calling of Adua Abi.
Prayers.
So prayers, calling for prayers, even during the prayers, it affects the people. That is why government, in approving a settlement, this place is not for church, it is for residential purposes.
You know, in Nigeria, we don't consider things like that because we're a religious society.
So now, imagine if you are able to take away these people from that place. Do you think that will end it? Because you have done to one person, some other persons will do it so that it can be done to them. Take responsibility. Yes, individuals should take responsibility, just as government are planning and doing every effort to make sure that every citizens are okay. But you cannot please a man.
So as we douse down now, what are the things that, like you said, individuals must take responsibility? What are the things that we as individuals, because I want us to look at it from individuals to public health officers and then to the government. So what can, first of all, individuals do consciously to avoid flooding season or to protect themselves during flooding seasons?
Now, an individual can listen to news, just like we are discussing here now, that, okay, flood is coming. Evacuate yourself. Leave where you are staying to a safer place. That is one. An individual can clear his environment. An individual can stop open dumping of waste.
What do you mean by clear the environment?
That is to general sanitation of the environment. Okay. Cleanliness, they say, is next to godliness. So clean your environment always. In the time of your construction, do you have an internal drainage system that can take away water from you? This is an individual. The house is not for government. It is you that is living in it.
Absolutely.
And that is why we are encouraging those that are building for rent to also inculcate this idea into building. Yes, let there be internal drainage system. And in construction of soakaway and your water, it should not be very close to each other because of underground water pollution.
Oh.
So these are some of the things that an individual can do. Individual can listen to news, he can listen to newspaper, he can guide people in the society, because not everybody have the knowledge of listening to radios or thereabout. What you have heard, how have you shared it? Share information. Be involved in the preparation, in the preparedness, in the readiness to flood mitigation and control.
And probably plant trees.
Yes, plant a tree. Stop any forms of deforestation. Okay. Plant a tree, and then it will help us create a barriers that flood cannot come to your place. The same thing applicable to community, because an individual form a community. So the community can liaise with the local authorities to come to their aid in terms of flood activities. Community can also do a lot by also doing a voluntary job or activities. Be part of it. Yes, because when you see them doing it by themselves, it brings self-confidence and self-preparation and planning ahead of this issue. Otherwise, if you come there, you talk at the end, they say, yeah, just come and make his own money. So leave them with the problem. So that is the mentality of people. What
about environmental health officers? What can they do to help in this case?
In our case, we have a lot to do. We are saddled with so many responsibilities. But the problem is, one, we are not many. We are not enough. We have a lot of graduates that are not doing anything. And you cannot expect somebody to start walking around and be talking to people on which authority. Because you must have either a local authority or a state authority or federal authority for you to do that. So we go out and sensitize people, just like why I am here, to educate the people on the impact of flooding and how to minimize it. That is why we are here. Then we can also give them some different kinds of signs. We should be involved in pre and post flooding activities. In pre, like giving them this information, guide them on what to do, where to settle to, then visit them at the resettlement area. Then when they come back to that same community, we should also be able to visit them, to educate them, to counsel them, to guide them on the necessary things they need to do for them to continue living a healthy life. Then on government part.
Yes.
Government, everybody blame the government. Having done your part, leave the rest for government. Government can come in the aids of building a resettlement for people. Government can look at construction of a drainage system in terms of construction of roads. Government can look at the dredging of our water to be able to accommodate enough water. Then government can also look at engaging more professionals, environmental health officers, to map a particular community. It is by law that one environmental health officer to 800 or 600 population. But going by our numbers and the population we have in Nigeria, we are not even up to, let's say, 20% of this population.
The population.
Yes. So they should look at us. We are many. Then, collaborate with other stakeholders for us to get these things done.
So what about policies that they can put in place for proper recovery after flooding?
Yes, so policy makers is also important. Yes, there should be a strong policy that, okay, in terms of building of houses, you should not build here. Whoever build here, there should be proper enforcement. And once one is made an escape route, others will not come in. So in doing so, government will do a lot. Infrastructural monitoring, then construction of roads that has been dilapidated as a result of the flood actions, and then providing of necessary reliefs to the people at that point in time. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time today, Sanitarian Tijani Egene Eneojo. We really appreciate you for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right, viewers, thank you so much for joining the show today. We hope that you learned a thing or two, and of course, you're getting ready for the flooding season. I am Olamide Alhassan, and I'll see you again next time.